with incentive. The different strategies we talked about, earning it from some of the pools, and then rolling it into the ink pools themselves, so you can earn more. You could also just, I think you mentioned too, using it as a way to, you earn incentive, then use it a way to DCA into Pulse and PulseX, or Hex, or whatever other tokens you want. And then, but rolling it too is interesting, because I tweeted about this the other day. The buy pressure that comes from, because if you want to roll it, you need to have equal parts of both sides. So that means you either got to have a big bag and enough to keep putting it in, or you got to sell half your ink and then into Pulse or PulseX, and then add those two in. So there's almost like a buy pressure. If you don't have enough Pulse and enough PulseX that you want to contribute, you need to buy it with ink that you're earning. So that's like a little pump-a-mental I like as well, because otherwise you can, if you want to maximize your ink, if you don't want to trade in your ink, you need to have equal sides Pulse and PulseX. So I found myself in some positions where I'm like, whoa, this is kind of cool, because I have a decision. I can either DCA into other coins, I can put it into stables and have a cool account with that and do whatever I want with it, or I can roll it, sell half of it, and do it that way, or I can keep buying the coins that I love. So I love the positive feedback loop on this. I really think ink is one of those coins. I think people are just mad because Pulse and PulseX are down, so they don't even want to think about another sacrifice. They don't want to think about another coin. They don't want to think about this. They've been learning about PulseChain and PulseX this entire time. They don't want to learn about a new coin. They want that price to go up. They want, what did they wait 2 years for? They want that kind of thing. I'm like, maybe you waited 2 years to accumulate at below value. Maybe you would have been in some other ecosystem over the 2 years. Like, I think there's a lot of positive come from it. But
yeah, I mean, it's not ideal. Everybody wants, but Richard tweeted about this. If we want the price to go up, it's going to take buy pressure straight up. We got to buy it. Somebody's got to buy it, or it's going to stay down. As long as people are dumping, the price won't go up. It's just that simple. Same with Hex, same with anything. So that's where we're at. So now, once we get these DeFi protocols that utilize Pulse and PulseX, like earn and loan, well, then we're locking up a lot of tokens in. I would assume people would utilize, take loans, and then use that money for something else. So and have a plan. That's my thing. Is you have a plan before you take a loan out. Just don't take a loan. You have an idea what you're going to do with it. And then you can do some. You can maybe increase your farming positions in these pools or whatever. All these options are available. So I think we have to really, as DeFi users, really have a good plan. Think about what we're going to do when these things start launching, so we can really maximize our yield. And when Tetra launches, we can just automate it. So if you kind of know what you want to do, then you can make a strategy accordingly. And maybe you find some other little tricks and stuff we come up with that you can utilize, that you can just drag and drop and link together, and further maximize or further auto compound your yields.
Definitely. I think there's nothing but excitement. I've never lost my excitement this entire time. I mean, it's been before launch, after launch. I don't care what the prices are. Like, that's the thing. Everyone's like, oh, like, I think the default is being sad when price is down. But to me, I'm not trying to sell right now. And we just started. So to me, there's no expectation there's never been any expectation. That's the whole idea of the ecosystem. But the idea that you would be sad when the price is down is like, what were you trying to sell on a 1x or a 2x or a 2.8x or whatever came up? You weren't just waiting around. I mean, I don't know. It did, but I want to get to this comment though too. PLS miner. I've actually thought about this, trying to describe ink. I feel like there's something there, something around like a miner of some sort. It's I like the way Sloth talks about it. He's mentioned like it's monetizing this impermanent loss risk, or lack thereof, depending on how you define it. But I like ink is the farms is like it's like you're mining more of whatever you want, because you can trade the ink for whatever you want. So it's like you have that's the way I look at it. It's like ink is another miner, and it can mine me more of whatever coin I want. If I want more ink, it'll mine ink. If I want other coins, I can convert them into that. So it's just another miner.
Yeah, exactly.
I like miners.
Exactly. I mean, basically it's a yield bearing token, right? If you think about it, it itself doesn't bear yield, but it can be traded as yield for something else. So, but the reverse happened in the beginning, because when we first started, remember, ink shot up to the roof because there was so little of it, and people were trading their bags and pushing the price of ink up to get enough to have large quantities to get in the farms. So now once they hit that point, there's less demand, so fewer people are buying it, and more has been minted just because people are dumping it every day and stuff like that. So it took that economic energy up front for the people with big bags to buy up the ink to then lock it up in these farms to give us the opportunity now, we're all benefiting from it, to now take this and have value, even at $10, $12, $13, wherever it is now, to buy that much of, PulseX, Hacks, whatever you want to buy, and DCA in that way.
Is that why ink won't be the dump forever token? Because eventually people realize it is a miner, it is a yield bearing token, it is a money printer, right? They'll start treating it like they treat their, Hex, for example. Don't sell your money printer type of thing.
I mean, it's less of a money printer than, like, say, Hex, just because you have to pair it with another asset like Pulse or PulseX or whatever else, other pairs on a farm. So it has a lesser value in that way, in that aspect. But because it's tied to Pulse and PulseX and bond liquidity, you're always going to have this value that's going to be there with it. It's always associated with it. That's always can be traded for something of other value, maybe greater, maybe lesser. I mean, right now it's more expensive than Pulse and PulseX by a long shot. We wish Pulse and PulseX was the price of ink, right? Or even close, or 1/10 of it, or whatever, right? I mean, 1/100th, whatever, moon math, but you know what I mean? We wish it was a lot more. But when Pulse and PulseX does hit that point, what's the price of ink going to do? It's going to shoot through the roof. So if you're in a farm, you stay in the farm the whole time, you got thousands of ink, how much are you going to be worth in the future? I mean, it's going to be a lot.
I've been trying to, I've thought about, I think that was my initial thought on ink too, was kind of a beacon, sort of like a health indicator of the ecosystem, because Richard, he wants, if you believe his plan is the giving the tokens value and liquidity bonding and this whole like liquidity dream, Hart's law, the perfect example, textbook example of it happening in this ecosystem, you want ink to be valuable, right? Because you want people to want it, because you want them to provide LPs. So it's the fact that that's why the dump forever, or the people just sell it, or why is it valuable, tokenomics suck, all this stuff. It never made sense to me. I was like, but that would, if it doesn't have value, then what are we doing? How will the prophecy ever be fulfilled if it doesn't have value and people don't want it? Mm-hmm. And the price is showing somebody wants it. I'll say that.